Welcome to This Explainer, the hidden operating system, decoding non-sleep deep rest. Today, we're jumping straight into the hidden biological software running beneath your human experience every single day. We're going to explore a deeply interconnected system, looking at exactly how your brainwaves, your hormones, and your nervous system all silently conspire to shape your reality. And more importantly, we're going to uncover how you can consciously rewrite that code. So what invisible biological forces are shaping the quality of your life every single day? Let's think about this for a second. Modern humans are surviving in a constant state of environmental conflict. We're endlessly bombarded by overstimulation, notifications, demands, chronic stress, and our biology just simply wasn't designed for it. The central mystery of modern health really comes down to this. How do we actually turn off this over-arousal without just passing out and falling asleep?
To understand the solution, we've got to understand the conflict happening inside of us. Look at this contrast. On one side, we have our modern reality, this sympathetic state. This is fight or flight. In this state, your body is flooded with high cortisol, your brain is firing these rapid, anxious beta waves, and inflammation basically goes unchecked. But on the other side is our evolutionary recovery state, the parasympathetic state. This is where your cortisol plummets, your brain shifts into slow, rolling theta waves, and actual cellular repair begins. Living permanently in that sympathetic state is literally silently destroying our cognitive longevity. We absolutely need to bridge back to recovery.
Section 1. Flipping the biological switch. Which brings us to our first major revelation. We actually possess an evolutionary biological switch that lets us cross that bridge back to recovery with absolutely zero physical effort. This mechanism is known as non-sleep deep rest, or NSDR. It's a physiological state of profound physical relaxation and cognitive recovery, but the crucial part is it's achieved while you maintain conscious awareness. The roots of this protocol come from the ancient practice of yoga nidra, or yogic sleep. But neuroscientist Dr. Andrew Huberman coined the term NSDR to secularize the protocol, basically stripping away the spiritual framework so it could be strictly applied for clinical and performance outcomes.
Now, this dismantles a really massive myth. People constantly assume NSDR is just a fancy word for napping, or kind of just another form of meditation. Well, it's neither. Traditional meditation requires high effort. You're actively focusing your attention, you're driving alpha brainwaves, and it frankly takes weeks to see structural results. Sleep, on the other hand, requires losing consciousness entirely to cycle through its different stages. NSDR requires literally zero effort. You just lie there and follow an audio guide. It's a passive, zero-effort descent directly into deeply restorative theta brainwaves, and the results begin immediately.
Let's look at how this happens under the hood. Imagine a visual frequency ladder. As you begin an NSDR protocol, guided, controlled breathing, and a systemic body scan physically force your brain to walk down this ladder. You start up top in alert beta. Then, as your physical body relaxes, your brain is forced to match it, stepping down into relaxed alpha. Finally, you cross the threshold into theta and sometimes even localized delta waves. Your brain is literally experiencing the electrical signatures of deep sleep, but your mind is fully awake. It's wild.
Section 2. The Default Mode Network.
But what invisible mechanisms are actually shifting inside the architecture of your brain when you hit this theta state? Well, let's look at the hidden mechanisms of our mental chatter. In 2024, scientists at IIT Delhi published a truly groundbreaking functional MRI study. They put people in an fMRI machine while practicing this protocol and found that experienced practitioners successfully decoupled a region of the brain called the default mode network, or the DMN. The DMN is that background mode responsible for rumination, daydreaming, and anxiety. But here's the crazy paradox. When novices, beginners, try to just lie still on their own, their default mode network connectivity actually increased. The silence literally triggered hyperactive internal chatter.
So the practical takeaway here is absolutely crucial. You can't just lie down in a quiet room and expect to recover. Your untrained brain will just trap you in a rumination loop. Utilizing a guided NSDR audio track is absolutely essential for beginners because following a voice gives your brain just enough to focus on. It essentially bypasses that rumination trap entirely, forcing the default mode network to disengage so you can unlock true deep relaxation.
And when you successfully disengage that network, something astonishing happens to your neurochemistry. A famous 2002 PET scan study observed that during this practice, dopamine levels in the brain's ventral striatum increased by up to 65%. 65%! That is a massive biochemical surge happening while a person is just lying perfectly still, doing absolutely nothing.
Now, this brilliantly illustrates a widely misunderstood concept. We definitely have to responsibly caveat that this was a small 8-person study, and more research is continually emerging on this. But the profound theory here is that by suspending all physical action and goal-directed planning, you allow dopamine to pool in your brain without burning it. You aren't chasing a cheap dopamine spike from your phone or sugar, you're slowly replenishing your motivational wave pool, effectively resetting your entire baseline for the day ahead.
Section 3. Hyper-accelerated brain rewiring. This dopamine reset, combined with those theta brainwaves, actually sets the stage for a completely counterintuitive discovery about human potential. It kind of changes everything we thought we knew about how humans actually learn. Think about when you're trying to learn a new skill, a language, a physical movement, some complex concept. Research from the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke monitored people learning a new physical sequence, and they found that during brief 10-second waking rest intervals, the brain takes the new information and replays it in high speed, up to 20 times faster than the actual real-time physical practice. No way, right? Just imagine your neural pathways rapidly flashing and rewiring like a high-speed fiber optic network. The researchers mapped these accelerated replays localizing in sensory motor regions communicating rapidly with the hippocampus. And this exposed a fascinating biological paradox. The active physical practice you do doesn't actually produce the immediate gains. The rewiring and the neuroplasticity happen precisely in the moments you stop and rest. This builds to a really life-changing realization. The lead researchers noted the actual improvements in typing speed occurred strictly during the 10-second rest intervals. This means utilizing NSDR immediately after intense cognitive or physical effort is the ultimate catalyst for locking in neuroplasticity. Your brain needs that deep, zero-effort rest to literally rebuild its own architecture.
Section 4. The architecture of longevity. Now, when you compound these daily microgains over years and decades, we move from immediate performance into the macroscopic view of human aging. This isn't just about feeling nice, it is about measurable biology. A recent 2024 study by Bucharest and colleagues took 65 participants and gave them just a 10-minute NSDR protocol. After just 10 minutes, they measured faster cognitive reaction times, improved physical grip strength, significantly better emotional balance, and reduced physical tension. 10 minutes of lying still yielded objectively better physical and mental output. When we zoom out, we can synthesize this entire explainer into one deeply interconnected biological cascade. Think about how a simple 10-minute daily habit alters your entire trajectory. You use guided audio to lower your brainwaves. This physically forces your autonomic nervous system to shift from survival mode to recovery mode. As a result, your chronic cortisol drops. Because cortisol drops, systemic inflammation is halted. And over decades, because inflammation is reduced, your cognitive longevity is preserved. Every single system speaks directly to the next. However, we absolutely must maintain total scientific integrity here. While NSDR is a phenomenal tool for partially compensating for cognitive deficits and restoring a fatigued nervous system, it is an adjunctive tool. It is not a sleep replacement. You cannot biohack your way out of severe sleep deprivation, for sure. Your brain still physiologically requires full 90-minute sleep cycles at night to execute deep cellular repair and clean out neurotoxins. NSDR is the ultimate daytime recovery companion, not a night shift substitute. Which brings us to this profound final synthesis. The greatest misconception we have is treating our bodies like machines with separate parts. But as we've seen, your breath changes your brainwaves change your autonomic state, and your autonomic state literally dictates how your cells age. Health is not a collection of separate habits. Health is the emergent result of countless interconnected biological processes occurring every moment of every single day. We began by looking for a hidden operating system. And we found it, right there in the quiet space between waking and sleeping. So I leave you with this final thought to carry with you. If just 10 minutes of conscious stillness can literally rewrite your neurochemistry, halt inflammation, and rewire your brain, what invisible potential are you leaving untapped by constantly running?